Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Flock's Nest Sports Podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Downs, and I will be doing the Ravens versus Browns preview game. So, just to kick it off, that game is Sunday the 14th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, so 1 p.m. Eastern time. That game is in Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium. They are doing something pretty interesting this week, as it is their 30th year anniversary. They have changed the logo on their team back to the original logo, the Ravens, just the word, but the graphic design is the same one as their original launch in 1985. So, pretty exciting, pretty fun to see. It also marks Joe Flacco's first return to Baltimore, so a lot of things happening, a lot of history. Hopefully, Ravens flock can show Flacco some love, as he was and kind of always is a Raven. So, obviously, getting them a Super Bowl, one of the greatest playoff runs ever. So, pretty exciting. Hopefully, that will go well. All right, now into the game itself. Some cleanup things, starting with injury reports for both teams. Jair Alexander obviously is on the injury report just because he's been dealing with that knee since training camp. He was a full participant in practice all week. I do expect him to play, or expect him to be in the rotation, as long as we think we've got that penalty bullshit cleaned up. Rashad Bateman was out for most of the week. John Harbaugh said it was a personal issue. I'm not entirely sure what that's looking like. Bateman did just get a new contract. I doubt it's because of maybe a limited role in last week's game. He's never put up extensive numbers or a lot of targets. So hopefully everything's okay with him. Obviously, if more news comes out, we will keep you guys updated. But hopefully, he and his family and everything's all right. I do expect that if he is mentally and emotionally okay to go, even though if he didn't practice all week, he will be an active member of the game just because it's Bateman. He and Lamar have that connection. I'm not too worried about it. Likely, obviously, still out with the foot, and Patrick Ricard still out dealing with that calf injury that popped up during training camp. Likely did return to practice this week. I do believe he is practicing on his own on a separate field, but making progress. And then Matabike also was limited in practice this week. However, he did return and was a full participant on Friday. So I expect him to be a go. Hopefully everything's okay there. Obviously, we want this team as healthy as possible to be playing at their best. Browns injury report looks like Jack Conklin is questionable with an elbow. He's a tight end for the Browns. Mike Hall, a defensive tackle, is out with a knee injury and did not participate in practice all week. And Quinshawn Judkins, questionable, not injury related, so not sure if he will participate or be available for game day. For the most part, each team kind of appears to be at relatively full strength. Not any major injuries, not anything that I think is going to move the needle one way or another in terms of this game. Some other little cleanup news. The Ravens will be wearing their purple tops and white bottoms for those that care about that stuff, want to know what jerseys to be wearing. That will be their uniform combo. It is their first home game. This isn't uncommon. They tend to wear white during the day. So excited to see that. Excited to see that purple rush top. And just really looking forward to week 1 at home. If the Ravens play their best football and the Browns play their best football, the Ravens will destroy this team. However, we have already seen struggles at the O-line with Myles Garrett on the other side of the ball. And we've already seen struggles in the secondary with a quarterback that is historically known for throwing the ball deep, and wide receiver 1 in Jerry Jeudy, who is a really good 50-50 go ball guy. So those two units are going to have to be operating at their best level. We saw a lot of accountability from the defense this week. A lot of the players knowing the criticism that's out there for Harbaugh and knowing the criticism that was out there for Orr. But it's easy to say it. It's easy to say they need to play better. It's easy to say they need to execute better. It has to actually happen. We did see the O-line get better after Lamar talked to them on the sideline. So I have hope that that continued throughout this week. But against an elite pass rush, that's really where they struggled last year. Lamar was sacked twice against the Bills. Myles Garrett sacked Joe Burrow last week twice. Now, Joe Burrow has terrible O-line and isn't as mobile, but this is a rivalry. They do know each other well. Sacking Lamar is going to be Myles Garrett's top priority. So we have to have both ends of the ball, those specific units, operating at their absolute highest, which comes off of some trash talk from the Browns this week. Jerry Jeudy saying that there were no threats or concerns to the Ravens secondary. And based off week 1, that's not inaccurate. There is a lot of talent, but that's irrelevant when they don't go out and execute and they don't go out there and play well. So hopefully we've seen improvement. I know Zach Orr did tell the team that they're not going to be patient the way they were last year. Last year, grace was given because it was a new system, a new coach, all of those things. This year, changes have to be made, and they have to be made early. So hopefully that kind of lit a fire under everybody. Hopefully everybody goes out there and just plays the football that they're capable of playing. Grant Delpit, a defensive back for the Browns, was also on the record for talking trash this week about how Derrick Henry is not hard to tackle. That's an insane thing to say. I understand that he has gotten a good tackle on Derrick Henry in the past, but most people get trucked into the ground. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, kind of hoping that's how that's going to go. But this team does play the Ravens tough. It's a division matchup. The Browns also have a defensive culture. They have great personnel. Just because they're not a winning franchise, and they haven't been for a while, and they're not the most successful franchise, it is a division matchup. I do expect them to play them tough. The thing we see with the Browns and the Ravens, though, is home field does make and break these games. For the last several years, between the Browns and the Ravens, the home team has won. So last year, they split the division. Ravens won at home, Browns won at home. The first matchup being in Baltimore, I do think gives the Ravens the advantage going into the year. I think it being so early maybe gives the Browns a little bit of an edge, but Vegas currently has the odds as Ravens 12.5 point over the Browns. So that's a massive point spread. That's almost 2 touchdowns worth of points that they think the Ravens can win by. My score prediction is Ravens 30, Browns 17. I am operating under the assumption they're going to play way better than they did last week. If they don't, there's a very real chance they can lose this game. Something kind of working in Baltimore's favor. We did see the Browns kicker really struggle last week. That's kind of been the name of the game if you've been watching football the last couple weeks, is kickers are really struggling. The Browns kicker is kind of what lost them that game against the Bengals. So I am operating under the premise that the Ravens are going to be better. I am also operating under the premise that in this division, home team matters. So I am going to give the 13 points. I am going to say Ravens by 13. I really hope that's the case. I think it very much has the potential to work out that way. But if the secondary hasn't improved, Joe Flacco very much has the ability to carve them up. And if the O-line hasn't improved, Myles Garrett can do some real damage in the backfield. I also am looking for wildly improved play calling from both the offense and defensive sides of the ball. Running Lamar, even with Henry on the field, not making stupid decisions in crunch time moments. And I am looking for 4 quarters of football from this defense. Not 3, not 3.5, 4. If all of those things can happen, they should win. But all of those things have to happen. So I think this week is going to be really important, not just in terms of, obviously, record. They started 0-2 last year. That's irrelevant. If we see these changes and we see these improvements that quickly, then we see that the message is still landing. If the improvements don't happen, then that's when I start to think maybe the coaching isn't getting through the way they should be, and the message is now falling on deaf ears. And that means there needs to be a change made at the coaching level. So this week I think is really important. It's really important to the season. It's really important to the locker room, and it's really important to the fan base. First game at home against a division rival. That massive of a point spread. They got to come out there and get the win. So once again, Ravens versus the Browns in Baltimore, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Drop comments. Let me know what you think the game's going to play out to be. Maybe what your score prediction is, what you're hoping to see. Anybody you got on your fantasy team between these two leagues. As long as they're on the Ravens, I hope they kick. All right, bye, y'all.